Last month, I asked you guys on Instagram stories what video you would most like to see next, and majority vote was for a Procreate tips for beginners video. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do today. So I'm not gonna lie, this is my third time recording this video. First time my battery on my camera died, the second time went well, but then I sat down to edit it today and the color edit was way off and my screen recording from Procreate was corrupted, and so it was a small disaster. Before we do dive into the full content of this video, I did want to just draw your attention to some of the other Procreate videos that I have on my channel already. I know some of them are a bit older and the quality of them is not great, but there's some really good tips in there for Procreate beginners. I'll link any of the ones that are more recent and I think are relevant for Procreate beginners in the description down below, and feel free to go and check them out. And as I said, as I'm going through this video, I will also mention some of the videos that I've done that might be a good add-on to watch next after watching this video. But because I've already done a lot of general tips for getting started on Procreate, in today's video I wanted to focus on three main areas of the Procreate app and the Procreate creation journey, and they are canvases, layers, and exporting. These are the areas of creating in Procreate that I see people struggle with a lot or not pay a lot of attention to when they're starting out. They're definitely parts of the app that I struggled with when I was starting out or made a lot of small mistakes with. And so I'm going to share some top tips on these three specific parts of the app. So if you are a Procreate beginner, hopefully you won't make some of the common mistakes that are made with these aspects of creating inside in Procreate. Let's go ahead and grab Procreate and start looking at these three areas of the Procreate app and how we can master them as beginners. Okay, when you open up your Procreate app, whether you've just downloaded it or you've been using it for a while, you're gonna see your gallery be populated with a few canvases. Today we're gonna look at creating canvases and specifically canvas templates. So to find your canvas templates inside in your Procreate gallery, you're going to tap on that plus in the top right hand corner. And again, whether you're brand new or you've been using it for a while, this menu is going to be populated with some templates for you to use because Procreate preloads a few templates into the app. I would recommend that you delete the templates that Procreate preloads in there and create your own templates. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, it's good to have your own set of templates that fit your needs as an illustrator and designer. And two, which is probably the bigger reason, is color profiles. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but it's something that a lot of people overlook and it can have a big impact on how your work looks when you export it outside of the Procreate app. So inside in my canvas templates library, it's fully populated with lots of different templates that I regularly use or templates that I've created for specific client projects. So I'm going to show you how to create a canvas template for an Instagram post. I'm going to go ahead and click on the dark black rectangle in the top right hand corner with the plus, which is just there underneath, and you're going to open up your custom canvas menu. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to create the dimensions for your canvas. So an Instagram post that is a vertical post is 1080 in width by 1350 in height. If you wanted to do a 1:1 ratio post, so a square, that's recommended as 1080 by 1080. It's always good to have a quick Google, especially if it is a canvas for social media, to check what the latest recommendations are for sizes and dimensions, and also if you are creating a canvas for a client project, to check with the client what size your canvas needs to be. The other thing that you're going to want to set is your DPI. DPI stands for dots per inch. The lower the number this is, the lower the resolution of your canvas, and the higher that this number is, the higher the resolution of your canvas. Recommended DPI is somewhere between 300 and 600. Most projects are 300 DPI, and that's more than enough. I personally like to work in 600 DPI, so it's a little bit of higher resolution. It's also going to show you under your DPI your maximum number of layers. This will change depending on the dimensions of your canvas, the resolution of your canvas, and also what type of iPad you are using Procreate on. I use an iPad Pro, which has higher memory, and so your maximum layers inside in Procreate is increased because your iPad has the capacity for bigger files. But if you're ever creating a canvas template and you notice that the maximum layer number is really low, have a play with reducing the dimensions down to a lower size or tuning down the resolution by reducing that dots per inch number. The next thing that you're going to want to pay attention to when you are creating a canvas template, and probably the most important thing and the most overlooked thing by beginners when creating canvases and digital art, is your color profiles. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the color profile option over here on the left, and it's going to show me two menus at the top and some options underneath. Now, the extra options underneath are not as important as those two main menus, which are RGB and CMYK. RGB stands for red, green, blue, and CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. The color profile that you pick depends on the use of the file you are creating, what it's going to be used for. And a really good way to think about it, the question that you need to ask yourself when you're thinking about this is this illustration or file that I'm creating for use on a screen, or is it going to be printed? For example, we're creating a template for an Instagram post right now. Instagram appears on screens of phones or screens of computers. It is not a print file, it's a digital file. And so the color profile that we're going to select is RGB. RGB is for screen files because the colors used to create all of the colors that you see on your screen are red, green, and blue. However, if I was creating this illustration with the intention of having it printed or put onto a product or turned into a t-shirt or merch or whatever else, I would want to set my profile to CMYK, which you might be familiar with if you have a home printer because you will probably have seen those colors or this combination of letters on your ink cartridges that go into your printer. So to summarize, if you are creating a canvas for something that you intend to have used on screens, then you want to have your color profile set to RGB. And if you are creating a canvas for an illustration or file that you intend to have printed in some way, it doesn't just have to be a home printer, you want to be setting your color profile to CMYK. So once you are happy with your canvas, you've set your dimensions and your resolution, and you've triple checked what color profile you need, the last thing that you're going to do is tap up here where it says Untitled Canvas and give your canvas a name. I'm going to name this one Vertical 45 IG. Then you're going to click Create, and it's going to open the canvas that you've created. But the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to save it in your canvas templates. So if we go back out here to our gallery and we click on that plus again, we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see that vertical 45 IG canvas that we just created. And whenever we want to create an Instagram post or whatever template we've created, we can just tap on it here and all of the settings that we've just put in will be saved. Now, if you want a little bit of a tour around your canvas when you're getting started, I have linked a video down below that gives you a full tour of the Procreate app, and I go into a lot of detail about all of the different menus that you find in your canvas space and what you can find inside them. I also have 2 other videos on brushes and the color palette where I go in depth into settings for both of those, and I highly recommend that you check them out after this video. But for today, I want to look closely at our layer menu. So the layer menu can be found over here in the top right, those 2 squares stacked on top of each other, and when you open it up, you will see the layers and all of your layer options. Layers is something that I see people make mistakes with all of the time when starting out with digital illustration using Procreate. People always forget how important it is to put different things on different layers and just how much control that gives you over your digital artwork. So my first tip when it comes to using layers is put everything on a separate layer as much as you possibly can. I personally like to use a layer for my sketch work and my line art and my color, and I like to keep similar colors on a single layer and different colors on another layer, and I just use lots and lots and lots of layers. If I go out here into my gallery, I can open up a previous post that I've created for Instagram, and when I tap on my layers menu over here, you see that I have quite a few layers going on, even though this is a very simple post, and I've got a few fun layer settings turned on that I'm going to show you now. So first thing to remember with your layers is you can move them around and restack them in different orders. The layers near the top of this layer list will stack on the top of the image, and the layers near the bottom will be at the bottom. If you want to move your layer order, you just have to select the layer and drag it to where you want it to. So you can change the order of your layers, and that's why it's really important to put different things on different layers so you can easily move them around. If you tap on a layer, any layer, a second time, you can open up the layer settings on the left hand side, so you can change things like the name of the layer, which in this particular file I have not done a very good job at naming my layers, but if I was doing a project for a client, I would always rename my layers at the end. So you can rename your layers, you can copy and duplicate layers, you can also change things like inverting the colors, which can be helpful if you're working in black and white. You can set something as a reference layer and use your reference tool with it. You can combine layers and merge them. Something that I find really helpful is using clipping masks. So up here I have a clipping mask layer. If I tap on the layer and turn off the clipping mask, you'll see that I have all of these white blobs all over my canvas. I'm using this clipping mask because I wanted to change specific parts of this hand lettering in the layer underneath to white. So if I tap on this layer again and turn on clipping mask, it's going to clip to the layer underneath. So this can be really handy for recoloring things or illustrating on top of a specific part of another layer to clip onto that layer. Also, you can easily toggle on and off the visibility of any layer by tapping the little tick there on the corner, and that will make it visible or invisible. And this will also appear when you export things. If you have any of the layers on your canvas toggled off, they will not export in your final file. You won't be able to see them unless you export a layered file. Another thing that a lot of people forget about or don't use enough with layers is opacity and blend modes. So if we tap on this little N over here on the right, we open up our color blends and opacity tools. I like to use the opacity for sketch layers. So this, if I toggle it up and down, you can see that the layer disappears the lower the opacity and reappears the higher the opacity. Blend modes are really helpful for things like layers that you want to have as shadows, or when working with getting different effects for lighting. And there are so many different options. I'm definitely not an expert at blend modes, but Procreate have a really incredible tutorial on their Instagram, which is just a short reel that goes through all of the different blend modes and what you can use them for. So I'm going to link that down below because I reference that video all of the time when I want to get a specific effect using blend modes. Some of my favorite blend modes are linear burn. I like to use this one if I'm creating a shadow, so I combine it with the Gaussian blur effect on a layer, and then I turn that layer into a shadow. Another blend mode that I really like is screen, which brightens things. It can be really helpful if you are creating highlights. But there are so many other ones inside there that will play around with how your layers look depending on the color and what they're layered on top. If you want to lock any of your layers, so you don't want them to be moved or you don't want them to accidentally get edited, you can swipe right on any layer to bring up this quick menu, and in here you'll find the lock tool that will lock that layer in place, which means if I select that locked layer and try to move it, it won't let me. It'll ask me to unlock it. I will also not be able to edit it with my brushes or my eraser because it's locked. I can also unlock it by doing the same thing. I can duplicate it by tapping on the duplicate button, and then I can also delete it by clicking the delete button. Another helpful tool for layers is grouping layers. So up here you can see I have a group of layers, so all of these things are stacked together inside in this group. To group a set of layers, all you do is select one layer, then swipe left on a second layer, and then you'll see up here in the top right hand corner this option to group those layers together. Grouping layers has a lot of benefits. One of the most obvious ones is just helping you organize your layers, but there's also a lot of other additional benefits to using layer groups that come with some other layer tools that I'm going to show you next. So the next tool for layers I want to show you is probably one of my favorite Procreate tools, and that is the Page Assist. When I'm creating wallpapers for Wallpaper Wednesday, rather than creating 6 different canvases for 6 different wallpaper designs every week, I use my Page Assist tool to create multiple designs for multiple wallpapers on a single canvas. So if I tap on this wallpaper design that I created recently for my Patreon, you'll see down the bottom of my canvas now this new bar that says Page Assist. And when I tap on these little thumbnails, I can switch to different designs, like little pages inside in my canvas. If I tap on my layers menu now, you'll see that I have a lot of groups happening inside in my menu. That's because when I have Page Assist toggled on, each layer or each group of layers becomes a page on my canvas. So I can flick through it like a different book. When I tap on different groups of layers, I see a different page on the canvas. And then when I drop that down and I see inside in my group the different elements, I can tap on each of them and work on it as if this group was a single canvas as its own. To turn on Page Assist, you're going to click on your settings button, you're going to click on canvas, and then you're going to see this little toggle for Page Assist. If I turn that off, it reverts back to a normal canvas. And now if I go into my layers menu and I tap on the different groups of layers, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to show me the group of layer that is on top. Another thing that you can do with your layers and your groups of layers is Animation Assist. To show you what this looks like, here is another canvas that I worked on for Wallpaper Wednesday for my Patreon, but this time instead of being a page, it's an animation. So I still have that bar down the bottom with the little thumbnails that I can flick through, but my options are a little bit different. It's showing me frames instead of pages. I've got some settings to look at the speed for my frames, and if I press play, it's going to play a little animation for me. So with the Animation Assist tool turned on, every layer or every group of layers is a frame in an animation. To toggle on and off the Animation Assist setting, it's in exactly the same place as the Page Assist. We go to our settings, our canvas settings, and this time you can see I've toggled on Animation Assist instead of Page Assist, and this just turns our canvas into a little animation or GIF. And I have lots of different videos on how I use Animation Assist, including a full video that looks at just using this tool and getting started with it, but I also have lots of videos on how to use it to create GIFs as well, so I will link some of those in the description down below if you want to learn a little bit more about Animation Assist. So we've looked at layers and some of the different things to remember when using layers and some top tips on how to get the most out of our layers. The next thing that I want to talk about is some top tips for exporting your final files. Again, this is something that I made a lot of mistakes with when I was starting out with digital illustration. So if you want to export your file when you're finished, you're going to tap on that settings menu again, and this time you're going to tap on that share button, and this is going to give you lots of different options on how you can share and export your canvas. Up at the top, you have the share image settings. When you tap on any of these, depending on the file format, you're going to save or share the image of your canvas as it looks now. So for example, if we go back to that previous canvas where I was showing you the Page Assist settings, if I click on share and the share image option, even if I just select JPEG, it's going to just save one image. You can see there I have the option to just save one image, and it's going to show you in that little preview up the top, it's the image that I see on the canvas in that moment. If I wanted to export all of my layers as separate images or all of my groups of layers as separate images, so for example, I wanted to save each of these pages as a separate file, then I'm going to want to use the share layers options. So this time, if I click on share layers as PNG files and it goes to my export options, you'll see it says save 6 images. This time it's going to save each layer or each group of layers as a single PNG file. So if you've got your page assist turned on, you're going to want to use this one to make sure that you don't have to go through each page and export it individually. You can do it in bulk. You've got a couple of different file formats that you can save your work from Procreate in. The first one is Procreate. This is great if you are sharing a Procreate file with another Procreate user, or you want to back up your own work from Procreate on a hard drive, for example. The next option in your share image menu is the PSD. This is the file format for Photoshop. I don't love using this form of exporting it, but it is handy if you want to quickly export a file that you are working on for a client who's familiar with Photoshop, for example, but doesn't use Procreate, and you want them to be able to access the layers of the file. The next option is PDF, which is a PDF. Again, if you want to export a PDF with all of your pages as separate pages in a PDF, then you're going to want to use the PDF share layers option. If you click on that, it's going to share it as a single PDF file, but when you open that PDF file, you're going to have all of the pages from your pages here as pages in your PDF. If you export PDF from the share image option, it's just going to be a PDF file of the layer that is currently visible on your canvas. You also have your JPEG and your PNG file formats, which are pretty obvious and files that you're more than likely familiar with. JPEG is obviously the most common file format that we see images and color photographs, for example, saved in. And PNG files, I personally like to save all of my Instagram illustrations as PNG files, but they're also great for anything with a transparent background. So if you have a canvas with a transparent background and you want to maintain that transparency, you're going to want to save it as a PNG file because then it will stay transparent on the background. The final one is TIFF. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not quite sure what you use that file format for. I don't use it, so if anyone wants to let me know in the comments what that is good for, that would be amazing because I don't know how to use that. Then in your share layers options, you have very similar options to your share images. We've already talked about the PDF and the PNG files, but you also have some animated export options. So this is if you have animation assist turned on, do you want to save your animation as a GIF or an MP3 or an animated PNG? I go into these in a lot more detail in my video where I share how to use the animation assist tool. So if you want a little bit more information or tips on how to use them, go ahead and check out that video. And that's it. That is all of my top tips on getting started with canvases and canvas templates, using layers and exporting your files so that you get the most out of them. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button so that you never miss out on new videos when they go up on my channel. If you're new to Procreate and you want to get even more tips on how to use the app, then I highly recommend that you watch this video next, where I give you a full tour of the Procreate app and I go through all of the different tools and settings and elements and where to find them inside in Procreate.